Evening and welcome to Crossroads. Right now is a time of crisis. We have a migration crisis, an environmental crisis, a public health crisis. There's a race crisis, a mental health crisis, and many, many others that are too long to list. And it seems that behind each and every one of these, well, there's evidence of some deeper agenda and also proposals for new laws and restrictions that seem a bit disconnected and kind of far out, actually. We apparently need to stop using straws and stop driving cars in order to change the weather. We need to stop being white to fix racism. Like all the others, the narrative on the cause and the proposals on how to fix it appear to be utterly deceptive and disconnected from reality. This is the housing crisis. Now, apparently there just aren't enough homes to go around. This is despite the fact that the population is declining and there used to be enough homes. But let's ignore that key piece of evidence just a little bit, because we're going to discuss the official narrative and the proposed solution. The narrative on what's causing the housing crisis is zoning laws. According to the corporate media, the problem is the suburbs. It's people who have their own homes on their own plots of land. They say the problem is that American dream, that white picket fence with a tree and a tire swing and a golden retriever running in the yard. They say the solution is to end single-family housing. We all need to stack up in apartments and high-rises. Only then can the housing crisis really be solved. Like, here's a recent piece from CNN on it. They say the problem goes back to 1910 when cities launched new policies that would, quote, lay the roots for the severe housing shortage today, single-family zoning laws. The article goes on to explain that zoning laws have a basic concept. It makes it so that factories cannot be built in one part of town, or have to be built in one part of town. In another part of town, you can have apartment buildings, and in another area, you can build single-family homes. It alleges that these zoning laws protected the value of homes because why? Well, they stopped the construction of apartments and factories in some areas, and those higher values, well, that means higher prices. And this often means more wealth, better safety, and better schools. And so those homes just might be racist. CNN writes that critics say zoning laws ended up being exclusionary, reinforced racial and class segregation, and shut the door to many Americans on home ownership. But they have an apparent solution. Get rid of those zoning laws and clear the way for multi-family homes. Why have a selfish house with your own yard when you can have a whole apartment building on that same piece of land? Maybe we can even build whole cities like this where everything is reachable, let's say in like 15 minutes maybe. Look, in all seriousness, this is the agenda. It's an agenda laid out by the United Nations, funny enough. Goal 11 of the Agenda 2030 Sustainable Development Goals is to, quote, make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. So what does that look like? Well, it looks like the 15-minute cities being pushed by the World Economic Forum, partnered with Agenda 2030, by the way. It's described, in fact, on the organization's website, saying a new model for developing mixed-use walkable communities known as the 15-minute city is gathering momentum in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, it's time to leave YouTube and head over to Epic TV. There's a war of information out there right now. And if you're looking for a meaningful way to support freedom of speech and freedom of the press, well, the best thing you can do is subscribe to the Epic Times. In the next part of our episode, we'll talk about the 15-minute cities, the globalist agenda to get rid of single-family homes. And we'll also be going into how investment firms were actually buying up all the properties in the U.S., notably driving up the prices, and how the media used to tell us this. So we'll go into what's actually happening with that. We'll also have Julie Kelly with us talking about what's happening with Trump and the case in Florida, and also be speaking with a professional boxer whose father was killed in South Africa by the Kill the Boers movement. That said, folks, join us on Epic TV, epochtv.com. Link in the description. I'll see you there.
People from 160 countries illegally cross the U.S.-Mexico border and give themselves up to Border Patrol. But what about the ones who evade Border Patrol? These are known as the gotaways.
You can safely assume that anybody that went through the extra effort to avoid U.S. Border Patrol was not an asylum seeker by default.
It may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, but somewhere down the road, if somebody rapes and kills somebody, and we find out that they came through here on my watch, that's unacceptable.
These men had surrounded my house. They were banging on my back door. They were banging on my front door.
You can't understand it unless you're out here seeing it every day. 21 dead bodies on the property.
Code 3 response.
Is it wrong to ask people to come to your front door of your home? Then why would it be wrong to ask people to come to the front door of our nation?
Their primary goal is to circumvent the checkpoints, go undetected.
People that do not want to surrender, those are going to be the potential terrorists, the criminals, the real threat to the U.S.
We were hoping the federal government would step in and do something, but they didn't.
We have no clue who they are or where they're going. That's the scary part.